Hola a todos chicos, ¿cómo están? Espero que estén muy bien. Yo estoy muy contenta de la entrevista del día de hoy. Hoy tenemos a un gran invitado, por supuesto, muchos de ustedes ya lo saben y deben estar igual de emocionados que yo. Bueno, les quiero recordar a los que no se hayan suscrito al canal, por favor suscríbanse y si quieren que en algún momento le haga alguna pregunta o comentario a nuestro invitado del día de hoy, por favor no dejen de escribir un super chat. Recuerden que todos esos donativos que ustedes hacen a mi canal de YouTube es lo que hace, lo que contribuye a que yo pueda tener este contenido tan increíble para todos ustedes. Para quienes tengan duda de cómo es el super chat, pueden hacer un donativo en la barra de comentarios en donde está el signo de pesos o de dólar o no sé cómo lo tengan ustedes. Pueden dejar cualquier donativo y todo es muy bienvenido. Les agradezco a todos por los donativos que ya han hecho porque gracias a ustedes puedo seguir trayéndoles todas estas entrevistas y videos increíbles. Hi everybody, I hope you're doing awesome. Today I'm very excited because we have an amazing interview with a top skater that we all love. I want to remind you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. And if you want me to read at the end a comment or a question for our guest, please use the super chat. Remember that all your donations for this YouTube channel are useful, very useful, because that way I can still bring this kind of amazing interviews for you. So I want to introduce our guest for today. He has to unmute his microphone. And I want to introduce you to Nam Nguyen. How are you, Nam?
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm very excited to have you here. I mean, I admired you for so long. This guy is a two-time national champion from Canada. And wow, I mean, your career in figure skating is so amazing. I remember when you were just a little kid on the podium with big guys, and that was so impressive. I mean, you don't see that every day.
Well, I mean, now if you look at, the where our sport's heading right now, like the podium now is just filled with the younger kids. And back then for sure it was a completely different, era, and
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see how much this sport has progressed since then.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, like you said before, it wasn't so common to see young kids winning. But today, like in the Olympics or Worlds, you see these 15-year-old girls doing quads. And it's so amazing. But nothing compares with some video I will show later of you being a tiny, tiny kid winning a competition with these giants beside you. It was really cute. So actually, talking about you when you were younger, I would like to know how did you get started in figure skating?
Right. Yeah. So, like many other Canadian boys across the nation, we started off by playing hockey just because, hockey is Canada's number one winter sport. And then a few months later, my parents put me into some figure skating classes to kind of improve my skating skills for hockey. And for a few years, I kind of was maintaining both sports at the same time, figure skating and hockey. And then when I won my first national title when I was 8, that's kind of when I decided to just pursue figure skating entirely, just because I enjoyed more of the performance aspects, the jumps, the spins, rather than chase a puck and get hit by other players.
I can get what you're saying. And were you good at hockey?
I mean, I would say I was not too bad at it. I would like when I look back at my hockey days, I kind of saw myself as a scorer. So I was a little bit selfish with the puck, and I didn't really like to pass it to my teammates, which kind of got me in trouble quite a bit. But you know what? I think that selfish drive kind of translated into figure skating, which is perfect because figure skating is a solo sport, right? You don't really have to rely on your teammates or anybody out there on the ice with you, and it's just you out there on the ice by yourself. So I think it worked out perfect in the end.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, like you said, hockey is like the national sport, but if you don't like it, you don't like it. And
Yeah.
you were so good from the beginning in figure skating. I mean, you started skating at 5.
Yeah. Started skating when I was 5 years old. Yeah.
Oh my God! And in those videos I showed, you were about how age?
I was 9 years old and 10 years old. Yeah, 9 years old and 10 years old.
And you look like 7.
I
You're
know I've
so
grown so
tiny.
much physically. Yeah, yeah. It's been definitely crazy. I never thought back then I would grow to be at the height where I am right now. And just kind of like just dealing with the whole growth spurts, just going through the ages and all. It's been pretty crazy. But yeah, initially I didn't think I'd be 5'10" right now.
You're 5'10". Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Oh my God. And okay, watching you skate, I mean, you were so good from the beginning. I have this question. How old were you when you landed your double axel?
I was 8 years old when I landed my first double axel. Yeah.
In just 3 years, that was fast.
Yeah, no, I think for me, just because I played a lot of sports when I was younger, I was kind of able to understand the concept of being athletic with
Mhm.
the things that I do, right? So, other than doing hockey and figure skating at when I was younger, I also played a little bit of tennis. I did a little bit of swimming, and so I think from those sports, I was able to kind of understand the mechanisms a little bit. And then for figure skating, it was just all about trying to figure out where I should place my body. And that's kind of how I was able to achieve my jumps at a young age.
Wow.
And, I'm pretty grateful for that just because it helped me develop my foundation.
Yeah.
And, when you're able to kind of accomplish these jumps at a young age, you're able to kind of hopefully keep them for a really long time if you have the right technique, obviously. But yeah, no, I think I give most of my credit to doing a lot of sports when I was a young kid. So yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Okay. Who was your favorite skater from all times?
Oh geez. So I think all time would be Kurt Browning. I knew of him like when I first started skating, and now I can say like I'm his friend, which is pretty cool to say.
Amazing. Yeah.
Um, but even so, like he choreographed my Beatles program from last year, and he also choreographed my La La Land free program from the year
Oh, he
before.
did? Wow.
Yeah, so just kind of working with him was such a huge honor, obviously, but at the same time, just watching him work through the choreography and just being creative, I think it's such a priceless experience. Like
Yeah, of course.
you can't really find anything like that. And so just kind of working with him was an incredible experience for me. And um, for most of the time, I was just in absolute awe because I was working with one of my all-time favorite idols in skating. So,
Yeah.
and he's also a great guy too. So, yeah.
That, for me, I think that would happen with Michelle Kwan. So if Michelle Kwan were to choreograph a program of me, oh my God, I would be crazy.
Yeah, she's such a beautiful artist.
Oh
Her
yeah.
lines are such classics, and I think even as I mentioned like earlier that the sport has changed so much from way back when. I think everybody can always look to Michelle Kwan for the classic lines and the positions that she is known for, right? And just the way she portrayed herself and the attitude that she showed everybody, it was a great thing to see, and a lot of us can learn from that.
Yeah, because also she had this quality of inspiring everybody when she was skating. So
Hmm.
you couldn't stop looking at her. So that was
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
Okay, at some point I heard somewhere that you admired Javier Fernandez and Yusuru, and at some point they were your partners in training. So
Yeah.
how does that feel? I mean, if you admire someone and then they are your friends and your partners, how's that?
Yeah, I mean, you know what, to be honest with you, like before I moved to the cricket club, when I was 12 years old,
Mm,
I honestly did not have a clue who they both were at the time, just because they were both still coming up, right? They weren't, they weren't really making big moves just yet. And when I moved to the club, I think they were the first two that kind of helped me feel welcomed at the club, which was so nice. And then that's when I was able to kind of watch them evolve from the skaters that they were to the skaters that they are now.
Wow.
And just kind of training with them it was so inspiring. Like every session was so motivating, even though if obviously I was like the least skilled out of the three of us, but I always look to them for the motivation and the inspiration, and they've definitely helped me through some of the harder days. And I remember when I was trying to get my triple axel back due to my growth spurt. I remember both of them taking like 10 minutes out of their session and just trying to help me find the confidence and helping me with technique work and really just spending time with me. And I don't really think that a lot of the um a lot of the older skaters do that just because they're so focused with their own training. But for them to take 10 minutes out of their day is something that I'm so grateful for, and something that I'll always remember, even if it's such a little thing. And now we've all parted to our different paths, different ways. But I know at the end of the day, like we're all still very well connected to each other. And I certainly miss training with the both of them. So
Yeah,
yeah.
of course. Who are your training partners now?
Right now, where I train, there's not a lot of high performance athletes like on my level. So we have a lot of great up and coming kids.
Mhm.
So we have a lot of good novice kids, junior kids, and for me, I think it's perfect. I honestly, at this point in my career, don't feel like I need to have another skater in my level training with me, just
Yeah.
because I've already been through that. And I think now I'm just enjoying my time, being one of the older kids and trying to inspire the younger ones to become the best versions of themselves. And at the same time, they're the ones motivating me too, because they have all the energy in the world. They can
Yeah.
show up and do their things. And now that I'm getting a little bit older, I can't be as quick as them, but I still look to them for their positive energy, and it's really inspiring. So I've really enjoyed where I'm training right now.
That's perfect. And what would you say was your most memorable moment, like in your whole career so far?
Oh, there's so many to choose from, but I think my most recent one would have to be last year's Skate Canada. It was such a special event for me. I think that entire week was a whole dream. It went just ranging from the practice sessions to the end of my long program. Everything went according to plan. And especially for me, that the night of the free program when I had to skate after Yuzu,
Mhm.
and he laid down the house, and the atmosphere was electric. The crowd was
Oh
buzzing,
my
and
God.
I could feel like the vibrations running through my chest. And that's something you can only feel when you're at like a concert, right? And the
Yeah.
bass is just like pushing through your bodies. But for me, as soon as Yuzu finished and the crowd was on their feet, I could feel the adrenaline rush through my body, their vibrations. And
Wow.
um, at that time, my only goal was to just use that energy and help me fuel the long program rather than crumble under the pressure of that. Because I
Mhm.
know it's so difficult to skate after Yuzu,
Oh
but
yeah.
I'm used to skating after him just because I used to train with him. And
Mhm.
when I trained with him, he was doing like clean longs, clean shorts, and everybody at the rink was just celebrating for him. And then I
Mhm.
would have to skate after and then try my best to like match that energy level. But so for me, I'm quite familiar with the feeling, even though I don't have that many of the chance to do that. But it was definitely a fun night for sure.
Wow. And there is a cute moment from your past, and I would like you to tell me the story about that when you won your nationals in juvenile.
Okay. Yeah. So honestly, like when I was 8 years old, I didn't really understand, how big nationals were, right? I just thought of it as like another competition that, I participated in. And, the goal was just to have fun and do my best. And I was the first skater of the entire event. And I did my program, and I was in first place for like the whole event. And I honestly didn't really like think about it too much because I think I was just hanging out in front of one of the vending machines in the building and just trying to look for trying to look for candy or whatever it was. And then like when the event was over, I think my coach came up to me and told me that I won nationals, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Like I honestly didn't understand how important nationals were. So I literally just took it with a grain of salt. And um, when I went onto the podium, I noticed that I was the shortest one, and I thought it was pretty funny. But yeah, to be honest with you, I don't really remember much of it, and I didn't think too much about it until like, a year later when I did pre-novice nationals, and I was like, oh, okay, nationals is very serious. This is where all of Canada gets together and compete, and I should probably take this a little bit more seriously. But it was definitely a fun experience for sure.
Oh my God. I just think about my students because in Mexico we have nationals for every level, even the
Yeah,
beginners. So it's like that, like you said, they want to go to the vending machine to buy something, or they want to play with their friends, or
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Of course,
At that age, you don't understand how
no,
important it is until like the people around you start to be like, oh yeah, like this is nationals, like
big.
everybody's coming together, and that's when you start to process like, oh yeah, like I'm training for something really important, and this is where it all counts. So yeah.
How old were these guys? I mean, they look huge.
You know what, I think they were like probably like teenagers for sure. Like I would say like, because in this video I was 9 years old, and I would think that the two boys are probably 14 to 16 maybe.
Oh my God. The
Yeah,
difference
so the
is
guy in
big.
the purple, I used to train with him actually. I used to train with him.
Ah,
His name is Pollux Young.
yeah.
I'm not sure what he's doing right now. And then the guy to my right side, his name is Christopher Blackmore, and he at the time was like one of the greatest skaters in Canada for the pre-novice level.
Wow.
And he was making some big moves back then. He was doing triples and and kind of just making a huge impression on our level. And at the time I didn't have a triple bend just yet. I had my double axle, but
Yeah.
I was working on my triple jumps, and my goal was to get one triple jump in to try to match his level, and then just competing with him was so electric. I remember because I was the second to last skater of that event, so I did my long and he skated after me.
Yeah.
And just watching him, I was so nervous because I was obviously competitive and I wanted to win, and so I was just like on the edge of my seat every time I was watching him because I knew that he was a great skater. Like he had broken records in his sectionals and whatever it was. But the entire experience was definitely a fun time for sure.
That is cool. And fast forwarding to your nationals, you won two nationals in Canada. I mean, that's
Mhm.
a big deal. So, how does that feel to achieve something that big?
Right. Yeah. So obviously, winning senior nationals has been one of my dreams, and I think I would say 2019 had more of an impact for me than when I won in 2015, and that was my first time winning senior nationals. Just because 2019 was the season about me doing things on my own, being financially responsible for my career, and everything just had a different approach, and it was really foreign to me. So, and that year was extremely difficult in terms of just trying new things. And so when I found out that I won that event, I just kind of like got really emotional just because I knew the amount of work that my team and I had put in that season was a lot, and we weren't really expecting to continue after nationals. So it was a very special feeling. Back in 2015, things were kind of like, I don't want to say easy, but like it was more like a straightforward path for me just because I had done um, I felt like I did a good job on the Grand Prix series, and I was just building momentum,
Mhm.
which I did not have in 2019. So, going into nationals in 2015, I knew that if I do my job, then hopefully the results will follow. Um, and also too, like I wasn't dealing with any like emotional trauma or stress or whatever it was back then. So yeah, as I said, things were a little bit easier back then, but and not as impactful as 2019.
Yeah, I mean this, oh my God, this ending to the program is so emotional. I just love it.
Yeah, no, I it's when you're in the moment, everything just comes out and you don't really think about how embarrassing you might look onto on the ice. And for me, I'm so paranoid with like just watching people like celebrate. And I understand like celebration is, part of everything and you got to show your emotions.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I was a little bit over the top, and since then I've tried to scale my emotions a little bit until like Skate Canada last year, where I literally just fell over onto the ice and was just being a little bit embarrassing. But you know what, I think when you put out a good skate and you feel the audience is just vibing with you, I think it's granted to have
Let me
a
tell you
huge
that I just
celebration.
love those moments. I don't think about those moments as embarrassing. I mean, I cry every time. If I see a
Right.
skater getting emotional or crying, I cry too. I just love those moments.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know what, I've never cried for anybody, and the only time that I've cried for someone was watching Javier Fernandez. His
Oh, really?
his final performance last year at Europeans.
Mhm.
I like caught myself tearing up and just started bawling my eyes out just because I
Mhm.
knew that it, that moment was so pinnacle for him. He had just he didn't really compete the
No,
entire season before. He like skipped the Grand Prix series and was like kind of just like piecing into Europeans with nothing under his belt. Like the last time he competed, I think was the Olympics,
yeah,
and he
actually,
won
yeah,
bronze, and that was such a special moment for him. And he decided to finish his career with one last Europeans, and he won, and that was like the cherry on top.
yeah.
And for me, like I just remembered there were days when Javi was struggling sometimes, and I could see the pain and all the emotions that came with it. And for me just to watch that last performance, it was definitely emotional for me as well.
Oh, and I saw in this video when you end your program that Keegan Messing was so proud. He was kind of crying.
Yeah, Keegan is my best friend. He and I have shared a lot of special moments these last few seasons together, and he's been there for me through thick and thin, and that's pretty much unheard of, when it comes to figure skating, because we're all very competitive. We're by ourselves, but with Keegan, he's such a great human being. He's always there for everybody, and I think that is a quality that you can't really find as much in the world of skating.
Yep.
So I'm so lucky to have him as my friend, and I hope that I'm able to kind of return maybe 10% of the energy that he gives me.
You don't see that every day. I mean, guys
Absolutely.
compete against you. Well, in my case, my best friend, like all-time best friend, competed against me at some point. And
Right.
now she's the godmother of one of my kids.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, yeah, I know. So I think it's like that for you. And it's so
Hmm.
amazing to watch those kind of friendships that
Yeah.
are like family.
Yeah. And it's, as skaters, we understand it, when we have to, be by ourselves, take our times and try to focus. But Keegan, like everybody knows that we are in this together. We have gone through the hours of training, the pain, the stress, all the highs and lows of what this sport gives us. And to know that somebody is out there just willing to give their hand to you and just experience the journey together, I think that is it's such a beautiful thing to see. And when Keegan offered that to me, I was in shock at first, because to be honest, when he first came to Canada, I was not his biggest fan. I pretty much hated him. And when Keegan and I talk about it, we joke about it, obviously. And we obviously were butting heads when he first came in, into our team. But now we have nothing but love for each other, and we pretty much call each other almost every day of the week, just checking
Wow.
in on each other. And if we have a hard training day, we'll call each other to motivate ourselves. And it's, yeah, as I said, it's pretty beautiful, I would say.
We should do an interview with both of you together.
Yeah, absolutely. He would be
Yeah,
so down for that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell him
I
and we'll
will.
talk.
Okay, yeah, I'll
That would
definitely
be
do that.
fun. Yeah. Okay, so you have been also coaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
college.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how
So
do
I've got
you
a busy schedule. I don't even know the answer to that question myself. I try my best every day to keep up with the schedule.
Mhm.
I think, what's important is you have to have a balance between every aspect in your life, but also at the same time, you need to leave enough time and space to give yourself the energy to recuperate and to recover. And I think that's so underrated is, a lot of us skip the recovering part and we just try to keep hustling and,
Yeah.
keep achieving these goals. And yes, that's so important. But if you don't if you don't stop once in a while, you're going to burn out and start hurting yourself, not just physically, but also mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And in today's
Okay.
society, it's so important to look after everything in your body and all that stuff. So for me, I think my team and I have created a balance between school, coaching, and skating. So and also at the same time making sure that I have enough time to rest and be a human being for sure.
That is crazy. And your major is in health studies?
Yeah, so I'm at York University and studying health studies program, but I'm actually planning to switch into psychology because I feel like I'm I, a little bit more interested in that field right now. But we're still seeing what my options are for sure.
So if you switch to psychology, would you like to do like sports psychology?
Yeah, yeah. You know what? It's after being in the sport for a few years now, I would say I'm quite interested, in how the brains work, especially in a skater's mind, because skaters, we have been through a lot and it
Oh,
does a lot of things to our minds. And I'm very interested to see like the basis of that and how we adapt to it and then what happens to us when we're done skating, right? Because there's a
yeah.
lot of discussion about how once you're done skating, a lot of people have a hard time coping with that just because we're so used to following the grind, the schedule, and now we're left with the feeling of a big hole in our life, and that hole was filled by skating, and now we don't have that. So I'm really interested to see how as human beings we can process that information and how we move on from it.
Yeah, actually, about this topic, I have talked to so many skaters with Gracie Gold, Caitlin Osmond, Gabby
Hmm.
Daleman, with
Yeah,
so many, and they agree on the same thing. I mean, you
yeah,
spend your whole life with a purpose of going to Worlds, to Olympics, whatever, and
yeah,
you spend the whole day skating, and that's your life. So when the dream ends, well, kind
yeah,
of, what's next? So
exactly.
like your life goes upside down and you
Yeah,
have no idea what to do next and you're in your 20s.
yeah. No, you're absolutely right. We once I'm done skating and once other people are done with their careers, we're doing this huge jump into the unknown. We're not quite sure where to go, what the approach should be. There's really no structure
Yeah.
that is, like in skating, right? Like our coaches, our teams, they create the schedule for us. All we do is just follow it. Whereas in life, there's so many unknown variables that will be thrown at us, and we have to learn
Mhm.
how to adapt. And I think, as skaters, we have developed the quality of being able to adapt to these unknown variables, which will be good for us in the long run. But there's so many things that I feel as skaters we lack that are needed for real life world. Let's say. I mean, I could get in trouble for saying this, but that's what I believe in. So I'm definitely trying to prepare for that, and that's why I'm in school. I'm just trying to socialize with all the kids that are not really in skating.
Mhm.
Can you have to develop these connections because
Yeah,
once you're done skating, a lot of these connections that you make within the skating world are going to be cut, right? Because you move on in different parts of your life. So it is what it is.
I know. I totally agree. So now with the pandemic, nobody knows what's next in our lives. Uh, so it's difficult to know what the next step is for anybody. For you
Hmm.
guys that are still in figure skating, it's more difficult because so many competitions have been canceled
Yeah.
and there are no shows. So, okay, what's next for you as far as you can see?
Yeah. So I think actually next week we have our sectionals and
Mm,
it's going to be a virtual format. So I think I'm gonna do that. I'm not quite sure yet. My coach still hasn't given me the update on it, but I know for sure in December, near the end of it, we're gonna be doing what we call is our Skate Canada Challenge event, which is our qualifiers for nationals. But I'm not quite sure if I have a bye this year. Actually, I'm not too sure. I got to ask Mike Slipchuk about that, but I'm going to do that for sure just to get, the feeling of doing a competition format, under my belt at least once. And then nationals will be in February. Usually it's in January, but because Four Continents has been canceled, we've decided to push our nationals a month back. And that's going to be in Vancouver and hopefully an in-person event. And that is the event that I'm obviously looking forward to the most, because after that, not quite sure what the rest of the season will look like. I'm not quite sure if they've decided on Worlds yet, probably not.
No.
But in terms of, all the shows and tours, I really hope that, the world will progress quick so that we can go back to doing what we love the most and in normal fashion. And I hope that tours and shows will open up, because I'm not really making a lot of money right now.
Yeah, nobody is. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody's
nobody
like
is. It's tough.
locked in lockdown or at home or skating, but no shows, not jobs, not anything. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. And I also just wanted to add to mention too that, as a figure skater right now, like I know in Canada, there's a number of us skating during
mm,
this time. And I think we should all just be, at the end of the day, we should all be grateful for the opportunity that we get to be on the ice skating and doing what we love the most, just because there's not really not many people around the world that have the same, opportunities that we have right now. And I think it's really important just to recognize that fact. Of course, competing is important, and trying to going out there and showing the fans our programs is one thing too. But I think we gotta take a step back and just be like, wow, we're one of the privileged
okay.
few where we can actually go out to the ice every day, even if it's for a limited time, and just kind of do our thing. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And so I heard at some time that you were wanting to retire maybe like a year ago, 2 years ago, but of course you didn't. And I think that's amazing. So are you planning on sticking with competing until Olympics? Are you pushing yourself to qualify?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think at this point for me right now, nothing is really just on my mind except for the Olympics. I've tried twice, 2014, 2018. 2014 was kind of like a joke for me. I really didn't care about it too much because I was young and all, but if I made the Olympic team, that would have been cool. I think just the fact that I got paperwork as an Olympic alternate, that
Mhm.
was already like
Oh yeah, that's a
pretty
big
big
thing.
news for me. Yeah. And I also made national team my very first time that year too,
Mhm.
back in 2014. So that was a very special moment. 2018 was obviously a more serious approach to trying to make for the Olympic team. I was pretty close, I would say. I was like, I think a point just off the team, which kind of sucked. But also at the same time, I understand that Keegan had a much better season than I did, and he more than deserved to go. And he did an incredible job. He and Patrick did an amazing job at the Olympics. I'm so happy for them. So,
Yeah,
you know what? I'm not too bummed about that. I'm sorry?
it was a strong team.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when I look back at it, and like I'm not too bummed that I didn't go, just because the team was in good hands for sure.
Yeah.
But this upcoming Olympics is like, it's go time. Everything that I do right now is geared towards making the Olympic team. And so the preparations, all of that is like times 100 from, compared to like what I was doing in the past.
Yeah, this is your time.
Hmm.
Go for it.
Hmm.
Okay, now a funny and interesting question. Okay, if you were to be on lockdown again
Yeah.
and you could choose any skater of the whole world to be in lockdown with you, who would you choose?
I don't think anybody would want to be in the same room with me for that for that long of a time, just because I'm pretty annoying. But if I had to pick, and like, honestly, like, there's so many people to choose from, but I would say either Kurt, Kurt Browning, Elvis Stoico, or Javier Fernandez.
Okay. Yeah, you
Yeah.
must have fun. I mean, if you're going
Exactly. Like
to
those
lockdown.
guys are like my favorite people in the world. They're so fun to hang around with, and I'm not quite sure if they think of me the same thing, but that's okay.
Maybe not. Maybe they will run away from
Absolutely.
you. Okay. Many athletes have some superstitions before competitions. You know, some skaters put the skates in a specific order, or they have to, I don't know, do the routine of the day like in the same order
Right.
as usual. Do you have any superstition before competitions?
Yeah, so I have two things actually. So obviously, the first one's pretty traditional, I would say, is like, putting my left skate on first and then putting on my right skate.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Me too.
but lately I've been playing around with putting my right skate on first and then left skate, but it doesn't really matter just because it is what it is. But this next one's pretty important for me. It's every time I go into my starting position, just before I hit that starting position at a competition, I crack my neck and I do a little bit of like my walkthroughs where I um, finalize where my arms should go when I
Yeah.
rotate. And so I hit my head back and then I go left and then I go right and then I hit crack, crack, crack. And then I go 1, 2. Then I feel like, okay, I'm ready to go. And then I'll hit my starting
My God, that's
position.
so funny. From now on, I'll start looking at you
Yeah,
to
exactly.
find
That's what
that
I do.
moment.
So every time I call my, like, there's like Nam Nguyen in Canada and I go 1, 2, 3 and then 1, 2 and then I hit my starting position.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I love to hear these stories because we are so weird. I mean, me
Yeah.
also put my left skate on and then the right skate on. I don't even compete anymore, but even for lessons, I'm a coach, I'm a choreographer.
Right.
Even to just give a lesson, I have to put my skates in that order. If not, I feel awkward. Of course, it
Yeah, I
doesn't
know.
matter, like you said, but it feels funny.
Exactly. You feel good about yourself, and as skaters, and the time that we've been through it, like we're creatures of habit, right? We have to have a consistent routine, and once we hit the checklist off one by one, that's when our confidence, the momentum starts to build. Even though, like when you look at it from like a different perspective, so if I was like another me and I started looking at the stuff that I would do, I'd be freaked out just because some of the things that we do are a little bit weird, but when we're doing it, it feels comforting. And I think that's what's
Yeah,
so important is that
exactly.
it creates like this sense of I could be wrong, a sense of warmth. For me, that's what it feels like. I feel warm when I do all these things that are required just before I compete. And to like the regular person watching, it's like, what are you doing? That's so weird. Like, no, this is part of our routine, man. This is how we get ready.
Yeah,
So
it's like your
yeah.
mom's hug. It feels
Yeah,
nice.
exactly.
You feel protected, so you must do that in order to feel protected and
Absolutely.
ready
It's
to
so
go.
underrated. It's so
I
underrated,
know.
especially at a young age. You don't care about your mom's hug. But when you get older, it's like the thing you desire the most.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
exactly. It's good to find someone who gets it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're weird. Okay, and last question, and this is an interesting one. Okay, now with the ladies doing quads in competitions, so many people are wondering if one day there will be mixed competitions with guys and girls doing quads and triple axels and all that. Personally, I don't think that's going to happen, at
Hmm.
least not like an ISU sanctioned competition. Maybe a competition for fun, maybe. But if that were to happen, that guys and girls could compete against each other, what would you think would be the result?
Well, first of all, if that ever happened, I would stop skating just because I am incredibly intimidated by what these young girls are doing. It's
Oh my God,
impressive. Like don't get me wrong. Like I have no hate for them. I think what they're doing is incredible, and
it's
it
crazy.
takes a lot of hard work and talent to achieve what they're achieving right now. But as a competitor, I would be a little bit scared because I know they could easily defeat me, like just
Yeah.
obliterate me, and I feel really bad about myself. But I think it'd be interesting if that ever happened. And as you said, maybe not ISU sanctioned, but a federation decided just to do a fun competition. I would be interested to see the results for sure. And I know that there are some girls out there that are capable of matching or if not even bettering some of the men that we have
No.
right now. So for me to be a spectator of it, I'm all for it. But as a competitor, I'm going to
You're
just
out.
I'm mission abort. Yeah, I can't do that.
I know, it's so crazy. I mean, these girls, all the Russian girls and some from United States, from
Mhm.
Japan, I can imagine them competing against Yusu, against Nathan. Oh my God, that would be amazing to watch.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, I also think too, like if you put these girls in the field with Yuzu, Nathan, and all the other incredible men's skaters out there right now, it would actually like I would think motivate them, and like it would
Yeah.
like push their game even more, which would make the event even more interesting. And I
Yeah.
think, especially with Alexandra Trusova,
Mhm.
she, is the type of skater that I've never met her, and I've actually only seen her skate once in person, but
Mhm.
I feel that she's the type of person to just rise to the occasion and
Yeah.
do everything in her power to like beat those two skaters.
Oh, yeah. She's a
Not
fighter.
being disrespectful to anybody, but that's what I feel from
Yeah.
watching her. Like she has
Yeah.
such grit and determination that I feel like it's in her nature to just like
Oh,
pull that off.
it's like this video, the famous video of her and Yusu doing a quad toe side by side. Oh my God, the height is the
I
same.
was there.
I mean, you were there? Okay, so
So yeah.
you can say it.
So
They
no, listen.
jumped at the same time. They landed at the same time. So,
I know.
oh my
So
God.
okay. So I was there when that happened. And the funny thing about it was I got really sick after my long program. Like I had gotten the flu from my long program just because like I think the energy and the energy has drained me. And so I fell into a flu the night before the gala. So I was doing my program, running through my exhibition, just getting it ready for the night. And after I did my exhibition, I literally fell over and I collapsed and I was like pretty much dying, gasping for breath. And then
That's
out of the corner of my eye, or no, not yet, I feel like two skaters just brushed by me, like one brushed by my feet and the other brushed behind my head. And I looked over to see, and it was like two of like the winners of Skate Canada event
oh,
just going for quad toes. And I looked and I'm like, they're going to try side by side quad toes. And the first time that they did it, I think somebody messed up. I don't remember, but they did it again and then they landed it perfectly. And I was just like, wow, I couldn't even do a single axle today. And they did like side by side quad toes. Like that's
and it
just
was perfect.
incredible. It was perfect. Like they have different techniques, but they managed to pull off the same timing, which was
Oh yeah.
key. Yeah. So I was like at the bottom of like my energy level, and they were literally at their peak, just maybe not even at their peak. Like quad toes so easy for them at this point, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
they're just like pulling off quad toes, quad toes, quad toes. I'm just like dying out here, catching my breath.
Oh my God, that's so amazing. So hopefully one day we will be able to watch a competition like that. It would be so much fun. They literally would be like ripping their heads off.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
it'll be definitely interesting to see how the event will go down for sure. I'm excited to see.
oh yeah, me too. So there are people from the audience, and someone wants to know. Maybe she wasn't here when we were talking about this topic, but she wants to know who's your favorite skater. So
Yeah,
maybe
so I
you
would
can say
say
it again.
yeah, so my all-time idol is Kurt Browning. From the start of my career up until now, he's been the skater that I've looked up to the most, just because he's a creative artist, and the performance that he puts on is always a beautiful show to watch. So yeah, Kurt Browning is my favorite skater.
So hopefully, taking back the topic of Olympics, hopefully we will watch you qualifying. I would be so excited about that because you deserve it. I mean, like we were saying before, you have been such a good skater from the beginning, from a small kid. So now is your time. I really, really hope you can qualify and, just get there.
Absolutely, I hope so. Just right now we're just putting in the work, building step by step, and as I said, there's really nothing on my mind except for making that Olympic team right now. So we're going to do everything that we can to make sure we're on the team.
That is amazing. And now you have to call Keegan and tell him that we must do something together, the three of us. We
I
will have
will,
so
100%.
much
Yeah.
fun.
I'm probably going to be FaceTiming him after this interview anyway, so I'll definitely bring that up with him.
Amazing. Tell him. We
Yeah,
will have fun. And then you
absolutely.
can say things about him and he can say things about you. So
Of course.
gossip. That's amazing. Thank you so much for this interview, Nam. I had so much fun. I finally got to meet you. I mean, even on the screen, but finally we
Mhm.
could do that. And well, it was amazing to have you here. And people is happy to have you here. So thank you for being in Cafecito con Masha. And hopefully when you qualify for the Olympics, we will be talking again.
Absolutely. I hope so too. Thank you so much for having me. I had a real good evening with you guys.
Oh, yeah, me too. Thank you. Gracias a todos por conectarse. Les agradezco mucho por estar con nosotros en esta entrevista. Thank you, Nam. I hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.